Hello everyone. I'm your host for today's webinar. My name is Mike Lasecki. Today is Wednesday, September 19th. Our topic today is Orientation to the Advanced Technological Education Conference for student attendees. This webinar is being recorded and you'll automatically get a link to this recording. At any time during this webinar, you can download the two supporting files that you see on the right-hand side of your screen. They're labeled Guidelines and Schedule. They're both one-page documents. You can click on them and then download them to your device. Today you'll be in listen-only mode. Please ask questions of our expert presenter. This webinar is brought to you through the courtesy of ATE Central. ATE Central supports advanced technological education. All of their services and information is contained at the website atecentral.net. Colleagues, hold on just for a second while I make an adjustment to our display. Ellen, I'm just going to check the visuals with you before we get started. What we should be seeing now is the presenter's slide. Is that what you're seeing? You can come on and talk for a moment, Ellen, as we get going.
Yes, I see the presenter's slide. I just also see next to it an outline of slides. So I don't know if that is a presenter visual or if everyone sees that.
You know, and I think that's a presenter visual. If you go
Okay.
down on your advancing buttons on the lower right and click on that little icon next to it, that should remove that.
Okay,
There you
then we're
go.
all set. Thank you.
Good, Ellen. Thank you for checking that. We really want to make sure that everything is visually solid and the audio is good today. And thank you for our IT support person who says that our audio connection is fine. Now back to the webinar. I'd like to introduce to you our presenter, Ellen House. Ellen is the program director in the Academic and Student Affairs Division at the American Association of Community Colleges. She's headquartered in Washington, D.C. Ellen, thank you for joining us today. Please go ahead and introduce your colleague, Kate, and then take us forward into the webinar.
Great, thank you, Mike. And on behalf of AACC, I just want to thank all of you for joining us today. It's our hope that this webinar will help to orient you to the conference, help you to maximize your time at the event, and help answer any questions you may have. This is my colleague, Kate Lockard. She's pictured on the screen. I'm sure you've seen some emails from her, and you're likely to see a few more before the event. She unfortunately is unable to be on our webinar this evening, but she sends her regards and really looks forward to meeting all of you in October. So I'd like to begin by going over what we're going to cover on the webinar. We've broken it down into sections, and then we'll give some question breaks and opportunities for you to type in any questions into the chat box. So for your reference, we'll give an overview of the conference. We'll provide some information on registration, hotel, and travel. We'll go over student participation and events and some other commonly asked questions. So before we started, I'd like to get a sense of how many times those in our audience have been to the Washington, D.C. area. So if you could use the polling functions and let us know if this is your first time coming to the nation's capital or if you've been before. So I see those results are coming in now. So we have a couple of you that have been before and have been a few times. And it looks like for the majority of you, this would be a new experience. So we're really excited about that. So we look forward to welcoming you to DC and giving you a flavor of the city as well as giving you a good conference experience. So thank you, Mike. I think we'll move forward. Okay, so in the overview, we'll talk about the what, where, when, who, and why. So in case if you're wondering what is ATE, ATE stands for Advanced Technological Education, and all of your programs of study are funded by ATE grants from the National Science Foundation. And this conference is called the Advanced Technological Education Principal Investigators Conference, or the ATEPI Conference. And in terms of what is a PI, because you'll hear that term a lot, principal investigator, this is a term used to describe a project director for a grant. So the faculty lead on the grant that funds your program. The ATE conference is a national professional development and networking event for PIs leading ATE grants and their project partners. And it was the project PI working in your program of study that nominated you to attend this event. And the event is co-sponsored by the National Science Foundation and by the American Association of Community Colleges, and it's primarily funded through a grant to AACC. And for those of you who may not be familiar with AACC, we are the primary advocacy organization for the nation's community colleges. We represent nearly 1,200 two-year colleges across the United States and their 12 million students. And AACC has been fortunate to work with the National Science Foundation to host this conference for the past 24 years. This year marks the 25th anniversary of the ATE program, and we'll have some celebrations in store at the conference in October to acknowledge this milestone. So this is actually a really great year to come. So where is it? The conference is held in the Washington, D.C. metro area. It typically takes place each year in October. The dates are on the screen, October 24th through 26th, and it'll be held at the Omni Shoreham Hotel. And this is an actual picture of the Omni Shoreham. It's actually a really beautiful historic property near downtown DC. It's really conveniently located on the red line of our Metro line system, and it's within easy walking distance to a number of area restaurants and shops. And following this webinar, as part of our follow-up correspondence with you, we'll be sending out a student's guide to DC to accompany the student schedule of events, and that includes information on area restaurants, maps, tourism information, and information about the metro, things that will be helpful to you as you navigate DC. So who attends? So approximately 800 people attend the conference each year. Participants include those that are leading grants for ATE projects or centers and their grant partners from business, industry, K-12, and four-year institutions. And the conference also provides the opportunity for approximately 60 students to attend, which you are a part of. And NSF program officers and AACC staff attend, as well as selected guests representing the federal government and STEM-related nonprofits and associations. So why attend? So in addition to the benefit of attending as described in the quote above, the AT conference provides an opportunity for you to meet other students, learn about new technologies, learn about various STEM career fields, as well as provide you the opportunity to interact with ATE leaders and industry representatives firsthand. The conference will also hopefully give you a chance to DC, since the majority of you are new to the city, and tour it a bit while you're here. So now we're going to cover a little bit of logistics, conference costs, and understanding who pays for what in terms of your attendance. So for students, AACC will cover the conference registration fee and 2 nights lodging, and all other expenses are covered by your respective institution or by your sponsoring ATE grant. So if you've not done so already, you should discuss airfare, ground transportation, and meal expenses with your PI or your nominating faculty member. The majority of students do travel with the grant teams, and therefore airfare and ground transportation to and from the airport are coordinated and covered for you. But if you're not traveling with your PI or another grant team member, you should check with them on how ground transportation will be coordinated and covered for you. And to help you with planning for expenses, AACC will provide the following meals during the conference. So these are meals that are provided as part of your conference registration. We host a pretty heavy reception on Wednesday evening. We offer a full breakfast and lunch on Thursday, and we'll have a light reception on Thursday afternoon. We offer breakfast on Friday, and then we'll have a box lunch at the end of the conference on Friday, since the conference ends right around the lunchtime. So, and just to note that you'll need to pay for any additional meals outside of what is offered at the event. And in terms of what to expect, we'll talk about hotel registration and student activities. So when talking about hotel reservations, we've asked you all to complete a student information request form and to use that form to indicate your hotel needs so we can make your hotel reservations for you. So we ask you not to make your own hotel reservations. However, if you've already done so, or if your PI or your faculty member has already made a hotel reservation for you, we ask you not to cancel it. just to be sure to include the confirmation number on the student information form. And that gives us the information we need to code your existing reservation to our account so we pay for your room for the 2 nights. So for everyone else, please enter your hotel needs and dates as part of the information form so we can make your reservations for you. As I stated, AACC will cover 2 nights lodging. If you plan to come in early or stay late following the event, you'll be responsible for any additional nights. You would indicate if you're arriving early or staying late when you fill out the information form. We'll make your reservations for your total length of time, but we'll only code 2 nights to the master account, and you'll be asked to provide a credit card or other form of payment upon check-in to cover any additional nights. The rate for additional room nights is $261 per night, and the Omni extends the group rate based on availability for up to 3 days before and 3 days after the conference dates. So when checking in, be aware you're going to be asked to provide a credit card to cover any incidentals that you may acquire while at the hotel, as you're responsible for paying for anything you may charge to the room, such as room service, or if you rented a movie, any of those things that you could potentially charge to a hotel room. And please note that as a hotel policy, it's a pretty standard policy, the Omni will place a hold on your credit card in the amount of $75 per day at check-in to cover any potential charges to the room. They'll refund that when you check out, but do note it can sometimes take up to 7 days for those funds to be released. So we ask that you please pay particular attention to this, especially if you were going to use a debit card for incidentals, as they would actually deduct that money from your account. So you might want to see about using a credit card or checking with your PI if you have any concerns about putting down a hold for incidentals. You talk to your PI, talk to your faculty member on how to handle this when checking into the hotel. We just want to make you aware of that policy. Again, if you don't charge anything to the room, it's refunded back to you, but sometimes it takes a few days to release the hold on that credit card. Registration. After getting settled in, you'll want to come to the west wing of the hotel, the West Conference Foyer, to pick up your registration materials. We'll ask you to check in electronically at the registration desk, and then you'll receive your conference program and another finalized student schedule of events. And know by signing into the conference that you're giving AACC permission to use your photo within ACC publications or media that promotes and shares information about the ATE program. If you have any issue with that, you can speak to someone at our registration desk. And as I mentioned, you'll be given another copy of the guide for student events. Make sure it highlights all the activities that are ongoing for you at the conference. At this point, we've covered a bit of information. So Mike, I wanted to see there any questions at this point, or I'm happy to move forward to covering student activities.
Ellen, there was a couple of questions, but you've answered one. It is possible to come before the conference or perhaps to stay after, but you're on your own financially, right?
Yes, you are welcome to come prior to it starting or stay later. We've had people piggyback visiting with family, and we're happy to make the hotel reservation for you, but we only cover the 2 nights, and yes, you would be on your own financially to cover any additional stay.
One of our attendees asked, could they bring a friend?
You can certainly bring a friend with you to Washington, D.C. However, they would not be invited into the conference itself. And when we talk about the student tour, unfortunately, they wouldn't be allowed to go on the student tour with you just due to space and liability reasons. So you're welcome to bring someone with you and share your hotel room. They just wouldn't have access to the conference itself.
One last question before we go ahead. You mentioned that a number of meals will be provided with the conference, but not all of them. Are there restaurants nearby? I mean, can a student walk to a McDonald's? Can they walk to a cafe? Is that possible?
Yes, absolutely. The Omni is located in a great area literally right across the street. There are cafes, there's a McDonald's, there's a good amount of restaurants and different price points that are very close by. And we'll provide that information in the student guide to DC, which will include a map and a list of area restaurants. And then we're also very close to the metro. If you wanted to venture further out, you could do that as well.
Excellent, excellent. There's a couple more questions coming in, but I think you're going to cover something about timing and scheduling coming up. So let's hold our questions now till the next question break. Thanks, Ellen.
Okay, great, thank you. So we'll talk a little bit about student activities. So the ATE conference has often featured student speakers at the event. In the past, we've had students be a part of plenary sessions, concurrent sessions. They've led breakfast roundtables, and for many, it's their first time presenting in a professional environment. This year, we have students that are featured as part of forum sessions and demonstration sessions. So if you see students on the program, you might want to check out those sessions and support your fellow students who are presenting as part of this event. One of the main pieces of student participation is a student recognition breakfast. And this breakfast is being held in your honor, where you'll be presented with certificates that recognize your achievement in STEM by NSF staff. Your PIs or your sponsoring faculty member are welcome to attend this breakfast with you. It's held on Friday, October 26th from 7:30 to 8:45. It's on the student schedule of events that Mike referenced. That is a handout. It's also on the website. And when we follow up and send you your hotel reservation information and confirmations, we'll include another copy of the student schedule as well. But do plan on, don't miss the student recognition breakfast. It really is a nice ceremony for you and due acknowledgement. In addition to this, we have a special student-only session focused on industry speed networking. We hold this on Thursday from 10:15 to 11:15 in the executive room. Again, that'll be on your student schedule of events. But this is a process designed to facilitate introductions for students between business and industry representatives and to allow for an enjoyable, fast-paced, informative experience and give you an opportunity to learn and practice interview and communication skills and learn about what employers are looking for in new hires in the workplace. We currently have 11 industry representatives from a variety of discipline areas signed up to network with you during this session, so we do encourage you to attend. As I mentioned during the question break, we also give students the opportunity to go on a tour of DC. We host this on Thursday afternoon after the student poster session, which I'll talk about next. This year it'll be a tour of the National Air and Space Museum, as well as an opportunity to see some of Washington, D.C.'s monuments. The tour is free of charge. We just ask that you sign up, and you would sign up to do so when you complete your student information request form. And as I mentioned, if you're traveling with someone, such as a spouse, partner, and family member, unfortunately, we would not be able to accommodate them on this tour due to space on the bus and liability reasons. But if you are interested in attending, we welcome you to participate in the student tour and to sign up on the information form. And I talked about the student poster session. This is also a highlight for student attendees. We hold this on Thursday afternoon from 12 to 2, and I'll go over the schedule for this event shortly. But this really gives you an opportunity to share information on your program of study in your career field and network with conference attendees. This is a required part of your student participation, and this is actually the first year that we've offered a student poster session as a standalone event. We've had students be integrated into showcase sessions, but this year you get your own student poster session over lunch where all attendees will be there to be there and talk with you. And to help you prepare for this session, we've prepared a poster session guide that's also available on this webinar as a handout and on our website. But essentially, we'll set up 4x8 display boards, and you'll have a 4x4 space for your poster. And you can go out to the full 4x4, or you don't have to use that whole space, but you just can't exceed it. And you'll be assigned a number, and that's where you will affix your poster. Students from the same institution or project can elect to develop a joint poster to display together, but due to spacing and visibility, we're going to allow no more than 2 students to jointly present a single poster. And we actually encourage you to develop your own individual poster to display. If you'd like to do that alongside if you are traveling with another student with your colleague, we can put you on the same board. But just so you know, if you're with a team that's larger than 2, only 2 would be able to jointly present one poster, and we're encouraging you all to prepare your own. AACC will provide push pins and Velcro for mounting, so you don't need to worry about bringing things to affix your poster. You just need to bring the poster. Posters must be pre-printed and transported to the event because AACC will not have printing capabilities at the event. When you sign up on your student information form, we're going to ask you for just a short abstract that describes your poster. This is a sample from last year. It says booth number, but this year it would say poster session number. And this is an idea of how it'll look in the program. So it's just a little bit of information about what your poster is about, so conference attendees coming through can know and come find you to talk to you. And as I said, you'll be signed a poster session number that identifies your display board and where to place your poster prior to the event. We'll send that out to you when we send out your hotel confirmation numbers and other information to get you all confirmed and ready to attend the conference. And here is the schedule for the student poster session. So after the student industry networking session, which ends at 11:15, you're welcome to go to the Regency Ballroom to set up your poster anytime between 11:15 and noon. The poster session and lunch will occur from 12 to 2, and during that time frame, we ask you to be physically by your poster for the 90-minute period from 12:30 to 2 p.m. We'll open lunch around 11:50 for students, so you can eat from 11:50 to 12:30, so you have an opportunity to get lunch before we ask you to stand by your posters to interact with attendees. And then you would just take down your poster immediately following the session. So again, we're asking you to sign up for a poster session, and that's part of your student information form, which is due tomorrow. And new this year, we have an opportunity to have students engage with the National Science Board. And for those of you who may not be familiar, the National Science Board actually governs the National Science Foundation. They serve as an apolitical advisor to the President and Congress on STEM policy issues. So these are leaders that really influence policy and strategy that can benefit STEM education programs. And they've been conducting listening tours about the skilled technical workforce, where they've specifically been talking with students and alumni to learn about their educational and career experiences with the goal of assisting them and supporting them in preparing this group of students for the skilled technical workforce. So they want to understand any challenges you're facing. They want to know about your experiences to help inform them so they can inform Congress and hopefully inform policy that continues to support STEM technician education programs. These are actually informal dialogues. The picture on the screen is from a recent event, a Community College Innovation Challenge with the National Science Board. So they're informal, grab your breakfast. Breakfast opens at 7:30, sit down at a table from 7:45 to 8:45 and engage in informal dialogue with members of the National Science Board. If you're interested in doing that, we did ask you to sign up on your student information form, so we just have an idea of how many tables to reserve for this purpose. But this really is a great opportunity to network and share your stories with leaders from the National Science Board and help to promote the community college role in preparing students for the skilled technical workforce. And just a highlight of food events, because I mentioned that we offer breakfast and lunch both days. We also do a pretty heavy reception Wednesday evening, and the food events are strategically positioned around showcases, the lunch around your student poster session, to make sure we're engaging attendees in some of our main dissemination and networking avenues. And we do our best to feed you well. We have pretty good food selection. Other conference questions we'll talk about: attire, internet access, and contact information. So conference attire is business casual. We suggest you dress in layers, as the conference rooms can be cool. Some students do choose to dress up for the student breakfast. It's not required. You'll see some students dress up. Some students wear their college shirts with logos. It's whatever you're comfortable doing. We do take photographs of that event. Similarly, for the student poster session, you can choose to dress up for that event, wear a college shirt. It's whatever you're comfortable with, but just so you know, the attire at the conference itself is business casual. We suggest you dress in layers, as the conference rooms can be cool, and we also suggest you bring comfortable shoes, as there's often a good amount of walking between sessions and to get down to the exhibit hall. In terms of internet, we'll have wireless access codes available at the registration desk for use of devices in meeting rooms and in common areas. And you'll also have a different wireless access code to have complimentary internet access in your sleeping room. So you'll receive those either at check-in. If you don't have them at check-in, they'll be available for you at the conference registration desk. And just a reminder, our student information form deadline is tomorrow. If you've not submitted that, please do so. If anything on this webinar triggered a change you need to make, you didn't sign up for the tour and you would like to, you can email Kate Lockhart directly. This is Kate's contact information. She's happy to make any changes to your form. And we will be following up, sending out your hotel confirmations, the student guide to DC, a final student schedule of events, and your poster session numbers. And if you have any questions on any of what I've covered, Kate is the main point of contact for students, and she will be available to meet and to talk with you in October as well. I think we have a final question break here. This is actually our student cohort from last year. We always try to take a group photo at the end of the recognition breakfast. So Mike, see if we have any final questions here.
We do, Ellen, and thank you for all that information. A couple of questions. One has to do with timing. Is there information that's due today about posters, or is the deadline tomorrow?
The deadline is tomorrow for posters. And we're just going to ask you to sign up to say if you're sharing a poster and to contribute a short, like 50-word abstract about what your poster will focus on. So that's
Okay,
part
so
of
we
your
have
student
until tomorrow.
information
Yeah.
form. It's
Now, you
all the
mentioned
same
that.
form.
Okay, oh, good. Okay, that clarifies it. You mentioned that the space for the posters, there's a 4x8 board and you get half of it. Is there a
Mhm.
limitation on the size of the poster itself? Obviously, is
The
it just
size,
4 by
yeah,
4?
the size of the poster itself cannot exceed a 4x4 space, but we're not prescribing how big it is within that. If
Okay.
you want to take the whole 4x4 space, you can, knowing you have half a board. You just can't exceed that amount.
If a student prepares like a handout that people who come up, they might hand them a piece of paper or something that that they have to give away. If they do that, I'm not sure you recommend that, but if they do that, how many should they have? How many should they bring?
I'm not sure that we recommend that. There's not a great place. There's not a place to put additional handouts or
All right.
papers. If you would like to do that, I would say probably no more than 50. You'll have more than 50 people come through, but people don't tend to pick up a lot of materials as they're going through poster sessions. They're there and they want to talk and exchange with you.
Okay, good. Thank you. Now on the 24th, two issues about timing. How soon can they check into the hotel, and what time should they be there on the 24th for the event?
The AT conference itself, we recommend you are there for the opening plenary session, which starts at 5:45. We know that a lot of students arrive prior to that time. So on the student schedule of events, we do an informal student meet and greet at 1:30. So again, that's not required. That's just if you are there at the hotel. You can come to the student meet and greet at 1:30 in the executive room, and it gives you an opportunity to meet some of the students that are there. We talk to you a little bit about the conference, and then the Omni is actually a really historic property. We have a few people take you around the historic property, talk to you about some of the Washington dignitaries and celebrities that have been there. It's kind of a fun tour, and it usually ends with the ghost suite. There's actually a ghost suite that is haunted at the Omni. And since we're around October, it's always a fun thing to do near Halloween, and they take you through that and talk you a little bit about that lore. So if you're interested in doing that, it's kind of a fun icebreaker type of thing to do. And then if you'd like to go out on your own and explore DC before the conference starts that evening at 5:45. We have Kate and other staff on hand that can talk to you about where to go and how to get there if you'd like to informally go out and tour. In terms of check-in to the hotel, formal check-in is at 3 o'clock, but oftentimes the Omni has rooms available prior to that. So you can always try to check in when you get there. If your room's available, they'll put you in it right away. If not, you can store your luggage and come back to check in. They'll text you when your room is ready.
Did you say the ghost suite?
Yes. They don't rent it out either. So occasionally a VIP sleeps in there. It's an interesting suite with an interesting story. You'll have to go on the
Okay,
tour to find out.
okay, okay. One other question from this has to do if, I'll read the question as it came in. If two students are doing one poster, do both students have to do their own abstracts separately, or can it be combined?
No, it would need to be combined. So if the two students are doing an abstract and you both need to fill out the student information form, you can decide. You can either both put in the same abstract or one can reference the other because we will give a field that says if you're sharing with whom, and you could say you're sharing and then the other person could write in C so and so's for our joint abstract. So what will happen is if you submit different abstracts, we will edit it and combine it into one. But it would be better if you came up with that together so we're reflecting it the way you would want it reflected as a combined poster.
Okay, good. As a corollary question to that, Suppose I'm a single student, I wanted to do 2 posters. I don't think that's possible, is it?
No, that you only get one poster per student.
Okay, okay, good. That settles it. Here's a question, and I think the answer is no. Is there a table in front of the poster? I don't think so.
No, it is strictly poster boards, where you will have half the poster board to put up your poster. It runs like they do a lot of these as student events, but unfortunately there's not a table. There won't be an opportunity to demo any equipment or anything like that. It is strictly the poster session and you standing by your poster talking to conference attendees about your program of study, your career path.
Excellent. Ellen, would you toggle back to the slide that has the contact information for Kate on it? Just want to make sure
Absolutely.
that people have it there. Kate Lockhart at conferencedirect.com. I know she's available by phone as well. Ellen, that concludes the questions we have today. Now, let me just ask one more clarifying thing. You mentioned the metro, and I think Washington, D.C. is really well known for that metro. Is it safe to travel by yourself, or should you avoid it at certain times of day? What do you think? You live in D.C.
Yes, no, the metro is actually really safe. I mean, certainly you would exercise caution that you would do in any city. If you're, traveling late at night, you might want to be with a buddy, regardless of how safe an area is. But the metro is safe. It's a reliable form of transportation. I use it quite frequently, and it is extremely convenient to the Omni. It's literally right across the street, so it's a nice way to get out and explore.
And if I remember, there's the Amtrak station, right, which you can come by train to DC and then metro over to the hotel.
You could, if you came into Washington, D.C.'s Union Station on the
Right.
Red Line,
Right.
you actually wouldn't even have to change lines. You could take that straight into Woodley Park, which is
Oh,
the station that is 1 block from the Omni.
cool. Cool. Well, Ellen, thank you very much for all of this. I know that, of course, you'll be there, and I know you're anxious to see, and you'll have a chance to talk to many of our students that are attending. This is a great opportunity, both for us to have them there and for the students to come and experience this event. So thank you for organizing it. One last question. Um, you can see it in the chat window. Ellen, what's the closest airport to the hotel? It's DCA, isn't it, in
It,
Washington?
it is. It is Washington Reagan is the closest airport to the hotel. And on the conference website, there's a hotel and travel page that specifically talks about all the area airports and modes of transportation to get to the Omni. But DCA is the closest airport, and it's also on the metro line. If you could take the metro directly from the airport to the Omni if you wanted to do so.
All right, great. Well, Ellen and our colleagues online, that officially ends our informational webinar today that hopefully helps you prepare for this upcoming event. I'd like to ask your favor and one more thing. Let me just advance the slides to our final slide. We have a very brief, less than 1 minute survey, which I'm going to open up now. If you click on that, that'll help us improve this webinar and other features related to the student participation in ATE. So when I open this, you'll see it open in a new browser window. It'll overlay this one. Just go ahead and answer the questions. You'll still hear me talking. The survey is open now. Ellen, thank you again for the presentation today. It was very informative, and we certainly look forward to seeing everyone next month in Washington, D.C. This
Yes, thank you,
officially,
Mike.
right, this officially ends our webinar, Ellen, and thank you again. Goodbye, everyone.